Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Nathan Gobes, filling in for JDavis this morning. I'm excited to be back with you today, hosting interviews, and I'm excited to introduce our next guest, Alinka Rutkowska, CEO of Leaders Press. Welcome, Alinka.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Leaders Press, what it is you do?
Sure. We help entrepreneurs turn their book ideas into bestsellers, and we've been able to help 500 entrepreneurs share their wisdom with the world. And we got 172 of those on the USA Today and Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And we also distribute their books into bookstores through our distribution partnership with Simon and Schuster.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. I have a few questions, but I think my first question is, how did you get into this? Tell us maybe a little bit about your background and what led you into this business.
Passion. I used to work in the corporate world, and at a certain point, I just felt that maybe there's more to life than selling domestic appliances, which is what I was doing. And so I managed to leave and write my first book at the same time. And the royalties from that book, that was over 10 years ago, brought me more than my corporate salary. So that got me excited enough to leave the corporate world and start venturing into the publishing industry.
Very interesting. And so tell us more about maybe the types of entrepreneurs you've worked with or work with for Leaders Press. Is there any specific industry that that you focus in, or is it really any entrepreneur? Tell us about that.
Sure. It's the successful type, we like to call our clients. And the two main reasons why they would want to do books is one is in order to grow their businesses or their practices or whatever solopreneur venture they might have. So that's the lead generation type of book. And the second type is a legacy piece. So, for example, we worked with the co-founder of DHL International who wanted to portray his story of 50 years in DHL, and he wasn't really interested in having a lead gen piece because it's a multi-billion-dollar business, so he was good, but he wanted to show his followers and people who will outlive him what his life was about.
Very interesting. And maybe we can talk about the process. I'm sure there's entrepreneurs out there who have either started writing a book or are thinking about it, or are maybe even nearing completion, perhaps. But at what stage do you get involved with them, and what does the relationship process look like?
Sure. We like to get involved as soon as possible because that's how we can help entrepreneurs get the best book out there. So really the first thing you should do if you're considering doing a book is to understand where it's going to be on the bookshelf once it's published. So the best exercise you can do, and we do that at our first call with our clients, is go to a bookstore or go to an online bookstore and look for a bookshelf that your book should be on. So for example, if you're doing a business book, you're going to go to the business section and then you're going to look at the subcategories and see whether your book fits into leadership or finance or small business or IT or mindset, and figure out which one is yours. Once you've figured out which category or which bookshelf you belong to, you want to find out a way that your book stands out. So it has to fit into a category and then stand out. So you need to give your readers a reason to get your book as opposed to the books of your competitors right next to yours. And that's how you start the work on a successful book.
Very interesting. And as far as getting things published and into printed or digital copy, how does that end of the process look like?
So once we've got that unique selling proposition, we put together an outline. Based on that outline, we interview the author and then ghostwrite based on the transcripts of those interviews. Then we also work from manuscripts. So if there's somebody listening to us with a manuscript, we can evaluate it and start work from that point if the manuscript meets our requirements. And once we have that, we take care of the whole publishing process. So the editing, the formatting, a best-selling cover, and then we prepare the book for launch. And the launch can be either an Amazon bestseller, or it can be a USA Today or Wall Street Journal bestseller. And we're also able to get books into brick and mortar stores through our distribution partnership with Simon & Schuster.
That's very exciting. And does Leaders Press provide any sort of competitive advantage or benefits that others don't? Entrepreneurs considering with.
Yes, well, these two mentioned are the main ones. So we guarantee that you hit the USA Today and the Wall Street Journal bestseller list, which are the most prestigious lists and really difficult to hit, because for USA Today, there are only 150 spots every week. So you have to be one of the 150 most sold books in the US to hit that spot. And for Wall Street Journal, it's for business books. You need to be in one of the top 10 in a business category. So we guarantee that we're the only publisher that does that. And we're also the only hybrid publisher that does both that and is able to get books into brick and mortar stores. So that definitely allows us to stand out from the whole self-publishing world, because we're not a self-publisher. We call ourselves a hybrid publisher because we make the traditional distribution possible. And this is really the only place that you can get both of these things. So this is our unique selling proposition, and it's really strong. We have authors coming back to do books with us and get on those lists with us multiple times, because they have seen the results of that for one book in terms of what it does for their career and their business. And it's a really great outcome for them. So that's why they're repeat clients.
Great. And I know at the beginning you mentioned that you have a significant number of entrepreneurs you've worked with, but and I know that you also have mentioned to me offline that you have some significant interest in reaching some even higher numbers in the future. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. Well, we've helped about 500 authors so far share their wisdom with the world, and we're looking to help 10,000 by the end of the decade. So if you're one of them, or if you know anybody who wants to get a book out, then we'd love an introduction and figure out how we can work together.
That's phenomenal. And I'm sure there's many people that listening to this show that may consider reaching out. If they are interested in reaching out to you, whether they're somebody who is, in the process and wants to get involved with working with you, or maybe they're even just considering, or just want to know more about Leaders Press, what is the best way for them to either get in touch or find out more about the company?
The best place to go to is leaderspress.com/discover, where you're going to find a 1-minute quiz that will determine which book is right for you, whether it's the lead generation book or the legacy piece that we talked about. And you'll also get a free audiobook of Outsource Your Book, which describes every step of the book creation process. You'll be able to listen to that because you're listeners. And that's all at leaderspress.com/discover.
Great. I want to thank you again for joining us today. This was really interesting, a look into the world of publishing and entrepreneurial publishing. Once again, thank you for joining our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Nathan. So exciting.
You're welcome. Hopefully you can join us again and report back on those phenomenal numbers you were talking about of entrepreneurs working with. In the meantime, though, this has been Radio Entrepreneurs, and we'll be back with more.